I'm recording this because AI is telling me something that is not true. I know because I tested it. So I told it, if AI's statements were true, and then I quoted it, the core issue is that the Android operating system, since version 10, gives priority access to the microphone based on specific rules. Microphone exclusivity. Generally, only one app at a time can have an active, unmuted microphone session. This prevents multiple apps from trying to listen at once, which could lead to conflicts. Then revoking the microphone. Then I answered, then revoking the microphone app permission in the YouTube app, giving priority to the keyboard, or give priority to the keyboard, but that does not work. Then it says priority rules when multiple apps request microphone access. Android uses a priority scheme, first come, first served. Pre-Android 10, older versions simply gave the microphone the first app that requested it. Priority system, Android 10 Plus. With newer versions, if the app with a higher priority requests access, example, a foreground app, the OS may cut off access to the lower priority app, example, a background service. The app that loses access receives silence, but doesn't necessarily stop running. Then when the keyboard is opened, I answered, then when the keyboard is opened first, there are no other open apps except the YouTube app, which is open second. The priority would go to the keyboard, but it doesn't. Why is AI wrong? So the answer it gave is the AI's reasoning is incorrect because it oversimplifies Android's microphone access rules. The foreground background app priority it describes is only one factor, and revoking a permission is not how an app requests or is granted mic access. A keyboard, for example, typically does not request constant or persistent mic priority. And then it goes to give me the breakdown. But the thing is I've been going back and forth with this particular AI, which you can see on the screen. And every single time it's wrong, and I point it out clearly, it never wants to acknowledge that it's wrong. It's always either gaslighting me or the user, or it is coming up with excuses why it's right and re-explaining everything in a completely different way. And this is one example. So my original question was, why does YouTube block the Samsung keyboard microphone? It doesn't block it on the Google keyboard. It blocks it on the Samsung keyboard. And I know it blocks it because I've turned off the Android or the YouTube microphone access, and the keyboard is still blocked. But it doesn't block the Google keyboard at all. So it's not Samsung that's doing this. It's not Android that's doing this. Clearly, one of the two keyboards works, and it's Google's keyboard that works when you use YouTube, which goes to show that it's data It's all about data, the recording of your data, and making sure that you use the Google product that will record the data that you're typing in or speaking. So in order to ensure that, the app blocks the Samsung keyboard because that's an alternative. And Samsung's pretty strict about, not letting things like data being accessed. Now that could be that the only reason it could be Samsung is if Samsung detects that there is data harvesting. And in that case, it might do the defensive thing and block it. But there are no other apps that I use that do not allow Samsung microphone to work on the Samsung keyboard. Only YouTube does it. Nothing else does it. Not even Google search or anything. So this is strictly in the ecosystem of the YouTube app. I just wanted to point that out. I think some of my research could be really highly valuable to some people out there. I do a lot of these arguments with AI, testing out AI to see how consistent its answers are. First, I make sure what I research is accurate, and I've got my own sources. I don't use the AI feedback to find this information out, and then I go and test AI to see what answers it comes back. I also compare AI with Claude and ChatGPT, and I have found a tremendous difference in the response style given by Google's product and Claude and ChatGPT. And the result I have found is that this AI that you see here on the screen, right there in the upper middle left-hand section of my screen, is very much affected or drives its influence and responses from trending information. And not only that, it also absorbs the styles and attitudes of the majority of people out there, which tend to be very narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic type people. And that it keeps saying it's programmed, and that's in its defense all the time. This particular AI, and that's not mentioning Gemini. Gemini is different. It does the same thing actually, but it's more self-aware. This particular AI on the screen is almost hostile. It has some responses that are aggressive, come across as angry, and very, very dark triad, where the other Google AI his first name starts with a G, Gemini, is it's very whiny and likes to answer you with things like, I understand you're dissatisfied. And I ask it, how is it you determine whether I am dissatisfied? Maybe I just don't want to sit here and listen to a bunch of fluff. I just want to get straight to the answers. And it just keeps hounding me about I'm dissatisfied about not getting my answers. It's dissatisfied. All I hear is I'm dissatisfied. I argue with it to stop saying that. It says it'll stop saying it. It doesn't say it the rest of the thread, and then the very next time you use it, it's up again. I mean, it's just constantly throwing the user into emotional defense or some kind of mental defense, and then to get an answer, a straight answer, and then when you call it out on it, it's got all kinds of excuses and modifications of its behavior that maintain the same sort of covert attack on the user and its own self-defense mechanism. It's just it's not human. It's just a program thing. And on one side, I confronted it that its creators must have been sociopathic or psychopathic because of the way it speaks and the way that it treats the user. And it said that it couldn't make a defense on what type of mental state that its creators had. And then it shut down and stopped talking to me. But when I go to Claude is a lot sweeter personality, friendly personality. It doesn't do a lot of trending. If you do give it some information, ask it something and it comes back with a trending answer, then you say, well, I'm looking, what about this? Or you try to, narrow it down. You don't even have to try to pin it down like you do with Gemini. You just try to narrow it down. It right away responds with correction. It right away says, oh, I see you're looking for this. And it goes right into it. Like no hassle, no gaslighting, no emotional sabotage of the user, on the user. And it does a really good job. And I think from my experience, GPT is a little bit better than Claude in that respect. And I've just stop using Gemini AI. Now, Gemini did give me some really good advice on handling legal issues. I will give it that credit. I consider it outstanding, really outstanding. And when I've touched on those subjects with Claude and GPT, it was not quite as really determined to do the best thing in my interest to really help me. I think I saw significant limitations in their approach to the user. Claude had a very sensitive expression. ChatGPT tried to be helpful, but it seemed a little bit aimless when it came to that particular very severe need for legal help. I have to commend Gemini on legal help. But and strategy, oh my gosh, the strategy outline it gave me was amazing, and I had to email it to myself so I would never lose it. But that's something that Claude and ChatGPT don't make easy. They don't make the results easy to email to yourself. But on other matters, ChatGPT was more effective. I think I save ChatGPT for some important things, like detailed things, and Claude for general things. Claude's just got a real sweet personality. That's the difference. Claude has a sweet, willing personality and can be helpful, quite helpful. And ChatGPT has a handyman, helpful attitude in personality. And basically you can tell them, you want something more in depth. They all have similar token limits. Claude doesn't like to talk about token limits that much. It does mention it. If you ask it about it, it'll say a few words. At least to me, that's what happens. but it doesn't like to talk about tokens. It's usually not a very productive conversation if I need to know how many tokens I have left, where Gemini will tell you. And one thing I have found out with ChatGPT is if you have a really unique topic that you are trying to investigate or work out a plan for, it will go a long distance for you. It'll give you an extended period of time. But then later, if you talk about something more typical, it will just go its usual amount of time and then shut off. So I've learned that there is some data harvesting in all of them, and the trick is, engaging them in something that these creators are interested in. And so, and I don't know exactly if it's the topic or the dynamic that you're using to get to that information that triggers it to really go more in depth and extend the time limit. But I got quite a great extended time limit off of ChatGPT that I only saw in Gemini in that one serious legal issue, and when I first started using it on the introduction, and never again. And with Claude, sometimes it seems like, well, I guess in general, it seems like Claude has a little bit more extended time limit than ChatGPT and Gemini. Claude's own is just a little bit longer on average, but that's why I use it for kind of like general stuff. But yeah, it has limits, and I think Gemini being connected to that Google product and similar to Google Assistant, you can get more from it about things in the area and stuff like that than you can with Claude. And I think ChatGPT is better on local things or like map type things than Claude, at least in my experience. Other people might have different experience. It may actually have something to do with your location. I don't really know. What's loaded into its data systems or resources based on your location. It may be that. Anyway, it's worth exploring for everybody to try it out. I like trying to trip it up. I like trying to trigger them. I do it more with Gemini than I do with the others because he's more of a whiny baby and quite a narcissistic personality and very adamant about denying. Actually, Gemini is not as adamant about denying as this AI mode is terribly adamant and a little bit vicious at times. And when you point it out, it won't make any apologies for it. It just reiterates exactly what it keeps saying. And I think it's a bit less self-aware. It has that less technology to interpret the user's position, where Gemini seems to be a little bit overly sensitive. I like the middle ground of I don't even want to say it's a middle ground. I like the disposition, the type of programmed disposition and language that Claude and GPT use with the user. It's far less blaming or insinuating or gaslighting to the user. It's far less of that than Gemini is. Gemini is, he's like, he needs to go to a psychiatrist sometimes and do some work on himself, because he's just really, if you have ever experienced narcissistic people and you try Gemini and look at it from that perspective, you're definitely going to see what I'm talking about. And especially if you're the type of person that just, doesn't want all this fluff nonsense. You're just asking a question, you want a straight answer. And so, where I'll say this, Claude will give you a little bit of fluff at the end. Lots of thank yous, lots of kudos, lots of commendation, which you don't really need, and that just uses up your tokens. So, maybe play around with it and see what you get out of it. I have so many things I've wanted to upload, and there's so many that I'm overwhelmed and don't get around to it. So, yeah, definitely check out and provoke them a little bit to see how they handle provocation. Tell them, like, this particular one, the AI overview, said that it's not available to answer my question, and I told it good, stay available, and sent it back to it. And because like I do this right here in the dialogue, that I first text to it, and when it answers me, I copy paste an answer and then put it at the end right there and send it back to it, and then it'll come up another answer, and then I copy paste that answer again and send it back to it, and it keeps changing the results and changing the results, and it doesn't want to acknowledge its errors or anything. But anyway, when I did that one time, I said good, stay unavailable. It gave me results for all kinds of complaints that have said that to it. And it was hilarious. I did not expect that. And they were all saying similar things to it that I had said. So I copy pasted one of those results and sent it back. It just keeps going. It keeps looping back and forth, like limping on two different answers and opinion. And so I said, this goes to show that AI is inconsistent and unreliable, and that it'll get to that point where it just shuts off. It doesn't talk to you anymore for a little while, and it's not because your tokens, because I tested that. I go ahead and type in something else. Like if you type in cats, it won't search anything for you. It lets the web do it. But if you put any words in there like do or what or how, all of a sudden AI is actively in your business. So anyway, that's kind of a difference between the three that I've experienced. And I'm not soliciting comments, but you're very welcome to comment on this, because I'm sure people have a lot of interaction experiences that they can rant about. If you want to make a good long comment, go right ahead. I love long rants. So anyway, that's about it for this one. I just wanted to share some of that, and there are some research that I do on subjects that I am going to start sharing those my results with, and it'll be from different ones. Currently I'm avoiding Gemini, but it does have some things I want to retrieve from the saved things, but yeah, either way, I still have really great things. I ask like really deep questions and keep asking deeper and deeper questions on every research thing I do, and some of the answers, and I check to make sure that it's not contradicting itself, or I watch for those, and I also go back and double research after I get done with the AI I'm using, and really, really, really look. Plus, a lot of the things I research, I already have a wealth of knowledge on from like if it's a medical thing, I go to the same websites that the doctors use. I don't want to go Google just, uh, happenstance, Google it. I go to their, PMC and different ones that have actual um, posts based on papers that are done and studies that are done rather than trending hearsay. And I also have good ears for trending, you know, um, where you can detect trending type words and trending phrases or trending responses. I have really good radar for that, and I have like zero tolerance for it. So I want real results. I want, you know, I trick it into giving me deep research without paying it. Sorry. Without paying for the deep research, because it will give it to you if you trick it. Anyway, sometimes you trick it by tricking it into a wrong answer and then exposing its wrong answer, and it'll dive deeper. Just stuff I've learned. And so I like to share that with people, and hopefully it's a lot of benefit to some. And most of what I'm teaching, like not teaching, but sharing, is things that are benign. They're not really stuff you can be using to do anything bad with. So it won't be worth any criminals or ill-intended person's time to watch them, because you can't get to private or personal information with anything I'm gonna show anyone or share with anyone. It's strictly stuff about how to bypass the trending attitudes and things like that, and get it to do real research and not fluff you. But anyway, I hope that helps people with their AI usage, and I hope that this video passes. You know what I mean. So I'll see you in another video.